Is there a way to turn that off?
Yeah. Oh, Kara.
If you hit the iPad button, hit the center button, and then hit the pause button.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to welcome everyone here today. A very special day today. I want to tell you the organizing committee, which I'll introduce later on, has done such a phenomenal job, but they spent a fair amount of time looking for a dynamic, an energetic, charismatic, funny speaker. They couldn't find one. At least not as cheap as I am. So I'm John West, one of Louise's son-in-laws, and I'm delighted to be here for her 90th birthday party. We're happy to see so many of you here today from all over North America. We've got Ottawa, Michigan, Burlington, Toronto, North Carolina will be here shortly. I know. Oshawa? No, I don't see Oshawa here. Did I miss anyone from far away? Toronto? I know that, yeah. Okay, that's good. And I know there's some of you here who I don't know where you're from, but that's okay. You're here with us today to celebrate. When we started planning this party, we expected that we were going to invite about 30 people because Louise wanted her immediate family. And she was adamant that she also have her best friends here as well. And as you can see, we have close to 100 people here today. And I even heard there's a busload of homeless people coming from Just a few little housekeeping items. I'm glad some of you have already got some light lunch. There's more of it back in the corner there. There's an open or a cash bar. We had to have a cash bar, and I was told not to say this, but it was really for the McDonald family.
That was you.
We have this room until 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then another party is coming in to take over the room. And besides that, Louise wants to get back to see the end of the Blue Jay game. So, the washrooms are around the corner and around the next corner. They're just in behind this wall here. And I have one special announcement before we begin. And I would like to announce today that Brian and Joanne are engaged. This video that you're watching is a compilation of all kinds of pictures that came from a lot of you, and a video that was shot at Joe and Stan's house many years ago down in London. Jan, one of Joyce's daughters, put this together.
Excuse me.
What?
Joyce's sister, not daughter.
Louise's daughter.
You said Joyce.
You paid peanuts. What do you get? Jan from LA.
Can you have these hecklers removed?
Sorry, Mike's hurt his back, so he can't remove his mother. Jan and her friend Elliot put this together, and it's really, really good. And we have a copy for everyone at the back, so on your way out, you can pick up a copy of it when you leave. You can catch a glimpse of yourself. Some of you are in these videos a lot younger, but you can see yourself. And I also want to mention, And I know a lot of you have come up and sat here and talked to Louise. Her eyesight, as you can tell, is not very good at all. But she knows who you are, especially if you tell her. And her hearing has not gone, I can tell you. Even if you whisper, she'll know what you're saying. A big hello today. Unfortunately, Mary Colby's not here yet, but Louise's siblings, I just want to introduce 3 of them. So when Mary gets here, if she gets here while I'm still talking, I'll introduce her. Bob McDonald, a brother. And Pat Clancy. And as I said earlier, I want to extend a welcome to all her friends and family that are here today, and you can see she's got lots. Celebrating 90 years. It's an incredible accomplishment. Born in Toronto, July 3rd, 1925, at Wellesley Hospital. Louise was the firstborn for her father, George, and her mom, Ruth. She's the first of 11 children and has some amazing and funny stories to tell from her time on the farm with her 2 sisters and her 8 brothers. Louise was in good company that year in 1925. Also born was Britain's former Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, former late-night show host, Johnny Carson, actors Richard Burton and Tony Curtis. And Louise is the only one left. As the oldest of 11 children, Louise is the first to witness the incredible changes over the past 9 decades. What was going on in 1925? Phantom of the Opera was on the movie screen, and it was a horror film. It was also a silent film because Andrew Lloyd Webber wasn't around at that point. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald was published. The NHL's Victoria Cougars beat the Montreal Canadiens for the Stanley Cup. The New York Yankees and Babe Ruth ruled baseball, but in 1925, the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Washington Senators for the World Series. Also in 1925, saw the first Sears retail store open in Chicago. From that point on, it's never stopped. You can hear me, right, Louise? Yeah. She's seen so many innovations, so many inventions over the years, and this is not in any specific order. Penicillin, Pez candy, the rotary phone, Scotch tape, bubble gum, car radios, TVs, black and white, color, high definition, Blu-ray, on and on and on. The Monopoly game, jet engines, AstroTurf, CDs, VCRs, ATMs, GPS. They obviously came up with acronyms along the way. Mini skirts, maxi skirts, micro mini skirts. Oh, come on, I thought they were stylish myself. Bell bottoms, video games, cell phones, smartphones, rollerblades, electric cars, Facebook, selfies, Twitter, the pill. Maybe your mother could have used the pill. However, some of you wouldn't be here if she did. And Viagra. I guess her father obviously didn't need Viagra. And probably most important to Louise, the Toronto Blue Jays. And this year, they're still within contention for the American League East contenders.
Yay!
Well, Louise, you can dream and pray for a good reliever.
Yes.
Because they need one. Okay, early days. From the early days on the farm and helping with her siblings and parents to working at the Toronto Star, sharing her days with her friends, Angela and Des, living with her Aunt Mary and Uncle Ed in Toronto. In 1951, she married Wally and began her own family, starting with Kathy, and then very quickly thereafter, Joyce, Diane, Janice, and Whoops, 5 years later, there was Marlene. Oh, I should read what it says here. Out pop Marlene, sorry. Louise loved sports. She was a huge supporter of her girls. In the early years, taking them every Saturday morning to the CYO basketball practices. The practices were followed by a visit to a deli on Yonge Street with sawdust on the floor. She followed her passion for sports for making sure she was on time going to the practices and to the games, with a carload of girls, to the point where she was once pulled over by a cop for a rolling stop and getting a ticket for failing to make a complete stop. Let's just say the entire first line didn't make the start of that game. Louise was at every game cheering her girls and her teams on. She even came to my Earl Hague basketball games. I know they were a little more exciting than the girls.
They're disgusting.
Hey, I got to make my own notes on it. In the early 60s, the Lone family was the envy of the street. Harold, you probably remember this. Thanks to Louise and her winning raffle ticket for a color TV. It's kind of ironic that they won a color TV and the Lones had the first one on the street because they weren't allowed to watch TV during the week. Or at least not get caught watching TV by their dad. Marlene was the lookout. Where's Marlene? Oh, there you are. Marlene was the lookout. She made sure to watch for her dad's car. And then they turned the TV off and run upstairs. By the time he got in the house, the rocking chair was still rocking back and forth in the basement. The TV required a huge antenna on top of the roof, as well as a huge dial on top of the TV. And if you needed to change a channel, the remote control was called Marlene. Sorry, Louise, not all of this is really funny, but your culinary expertise was not really the greatest.
I can hear Bill Dawson laugh.
Yes, Bill and I can remember that. Let's just see the types of dishes that Louise prepared. Dessert, soda crackers and corn syrup. The regular in the Lone house was green bean casserole. I'm sure Bill shivers when he hears that. And really, Bill and I had never seen a roast beef like he prepared on Sunday night dinner. Anyways, we'll move on. Don't worry about it. Everybody grew up and everyone's fine. After Wally passed, Louise found Harold. And in 1976, they were married. Louise did what she does best, nurtured, loved, and supported the Marr family. With 5 kids, 5 new kids in her family, Chris, Brian, Alan, Michael, and 5-year-old Nancy, Louise brought a new life force into their world. And the Marr kids were so happy and excited when she came onto the scene. Nancy says the highlights included changing from powdered milk to 2%, margarine to real butter, and the best change of all, God bless Louise, she bought a brand new dishwasher. Way to go, Louise, way to go. While in Barrie with her new family, she also became a grandmother from her old family, and in fact now is a great-grandmother. Louise carried her passion for volunteering to her life in Barrie, where she spent 25 years volunteering at Grove Park Home. She was honored for her years of service there. She didn't stop there. For her love of helping people, old and young, it didn't matter to Louise. For years, she also volunteered as a helper to teachers, reading to kids, making sure they learned how to read. The kids called her Mrs. Marvelous. For those of you who know Louise well, you will know she has a passion for the game of bridge. She would probably claim that she's the best bridge player in the McDonald family.
Oh, no.
despite what her brother Bob may have to say about that. Although she tried with best efforts, she couldn't really get any of her girls and the Marrs into the bridge game. Although Harold got pretty good. But to be in the Lone or the Marr family, you really needed to know how to play euchre. Above all else, her faith has carried her through the ups and downs and sometimes sideways times of her life. Louise's faith has kept her centered when it would have been easy just to give up. But her belief in God sustains her every day. In fact, she no longer needs to go to church to get First Communion. When you're 90 years old and been a faithful servant for all those years, they come to you. Louise receives First Communion in the privacy of her room in the comfort of her favorite chair. There is a story, however, one time in the 90 years of Louise's life where you think she had never missed church. One Sunday, not 1 week. Well, except for this one time. After eating corn at dinner, corn on the cob, Louise tried to pick out a kernel from her teeth with the corn holders. And bam, there goes her front tooth. St. Edward's Church didn't see Louise until that tooth was fixed and back in place. And here all along I thought it was the roast beef. Going back to the 30s, growing up on the farm meant that all the play-by-play for hockey games was done by Foster Hewitt. The family could imagine where they were in the stands just listening to his voice. He shoots, he scores. So much has changed for Louise since those days on the farm. The Great Depression, the first Stanley Cup for the Toronto Maple Leafs in 1932, World War II, the Dion quintuplets, JFK being shot, the last time the Leafs won the Stanley Cup in 1967, and maybe their last, the first man on the moon, the 1972 hockey series between Russia and Canada, Toronto Blue Jays 1992 and 1993 World Series victories. Well, you know you can get it right. Just talk Blue Jays. Some things have remained the same, her love and her passion for her family, and her passion for the Blue Jays, and her faith, especially for the Blue Jays. These days, with her failing eyesight, she doesn't need to see the plays. She can sit and listen to the game. Just like being back on the farm, but now instead of hearing he shoots, he scores, she hears, and the Blue Jays win, or lose another one in the bottom of the ninth. So everyone, please, raise a glass if you have one. Here's to you, Louise, on your birthday. Count the nights by stars, not shadows. Count your life by smiles, not tears. And with joy on every birthday, count your age by friends and family, not years. Happy 90th birthday, Louise.
Wonderful.
Watch her start a fire.
Okay, thank you.
Pretend it's lit.
We're all going to sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Louise. Happy birthday to you.
You have to blow it out, Mom.
together today. And if you're not already standing, please stand. Joyce, Diane, Jan's in LA, Marlene, Nancy, and Bill Duggan. Thank you very much. Now, Louise, we know you can yell when I say Blue Jays, but is there anything you would like to say to the group today?
I am so very grateful that you all have come so for long distances, and I love all of you, and thank you so very much. I would like to acknowledge.
We have
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, she just wants.
I just wanted to acknowledge my two friends, Angela Sexton and Nita Driscoll, who have been stalwarts of supports throughout my life.
That's nice. They weren't here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please don't forget, there's more food around the corner. The bar is open. Don't forget. Oh, cupcakes around the corner for birthday cake.
Oh.
Don't forget the videos. And Justin is going to come on here for a little while to do some singing. So thank you very much. Bob wanted me to mention, sorry. There's a family reunion at the Comfort Inn. No, everyone is welcome to go to the Comfort Inn for a party. 3 o'clock on. Thank you.
Hi. Here, let me do you. Hi. Bye.
Say hi to Jan.
Hi, Jen. I hope you caught some of that.
Say hi to Jan. Hi, Jan. Say hi to Jan, Mom.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Hey. That's nice.
How are you?